So lying down on your back, and just beginning to deepen your breath. And as you deepen your breath,
Mommy doing gym. Come on.
maybe beginning to scan the body. Just beginning to notice any part of the body that might need extra attention today. And so our focus today, the glutes, the hips, then maybe the upper body as well. So we're going to start in Bananasana, banana pose. So you're lying down on your back. You might need cushions to go behind the hands, depending on the shoulders. So you're lying down on your back, arms are over the head, legs are straight. And we take the upper body and the arms over to the right. So, there is a moving of the shoulders and the upper body over to the right. And then we take the legs as well. Now, the important thing is the legs need to stay close together. So I can bring one leg really far out, but the other one's not going to meet it. So we need to have legs together. This might be more than enough. If you want it to be more intense, you can always take that inner ankle, cross it over, and then you're really grounding down through that outer hip. Sure who it is. If you just joined, I can't see you. I think you might have a bit of tape over your camera, which is fine. I don't have to see you, but then if you've got any questions, you'll have to put it on the chat bar. So settling in. Now the target area of Bananasana is the side of the hips. Oh yes, that's fab. I can see you. Great. I'm not sure if you saw, did you see the first pose? Yeah. And so as we get into the side of the hip, we're thinking side of the glutes. The glutes are on the back, but they're also along the side of the thigh. Really good. Take those legs over to the same side as well. Legs are straight, and both hips down on the floor. So yeah, just shuffling the feet over, brilliant. The only place you don't want to feel this is in the lower back. So if you do feel it in the lower back for any reason, you're just backing out of the pose until you don't feel the back anymore. So we're going to take one more minute. You can really feel that left side of the body. And some people do feel it on the inner curve as well. That's not wrong. You might even begin to feel it around the chest and the shoulders as you have the arms over the head. And it's that same slow, relaxed breath, that same deep breath that carries you all the way through these postures. It's that attention to the breath, that concentration on the breath, which keeps you here fully present, not stuck in the mind. So slowly bringing the arms back, the upper body back, the legs back. So you're just finding neutral, just laying down, arms alongside the body. Take a little pause. Really good. And then when you're ready, the arms come up over the head again, and we move arms and upper body over to the left. With the legs straight, they also come over to the left. Both hips down on the floor. That's important. And once you've created that nice curve through the right side of the body, maybe you're thinking about crossing one ankle over the other. And actually, you can cross either one. You might play around with it and see which feels better, which gets you best into that right hip. Maybe grounds the hips, makes you feel steady in the pose. Really good. Noticing the right side. Maybe acknowledging that difference between right and left. Long breaths. Long breaths through the nose. One breath at a time, arriving fully in your body. One breath at a time, making space in any area of the body that may be stuck or tight. Really good. So we're coming into that last 30 seconds. Allowing your body those last couple of breaths to relax a little more deeply. Then slowly coming to center, arms come alongside the body. Maybe you bend the knees if that feels more comfortable when you lie down. Taking a pause, and we're going to come into figure 4 stretch and then into an IT band release. So you're going to bring the right ankle onto that left thigh. This might be enough, or you might lift that left leg off the floor. The feet are flexed. You might even hold behind the thighs. So you're really feeling quite a lot around that glute outer thigh area. For props, what may be useful, some cushions over to that left side, as the right foot's going to come across. But you'll see, or if you have books or blocks, then a book or a block would also work. So from here, you want to keep maybe that height that you've created in the feet, and we simply take the feet across the body. So we stay in this figure 4 position, just that right foot comes down onto the floor. As you push the right knee up to point straight up to the ceiling, you're going to feel more around that IT band area. I mean, if it's not particularly tight, then maybe it's not going to be that strong a pose, but it's a nice warm up for the glutes. With the arms, you could also take your cactus arms position, so keep the legs as they are, just move so you can see my arms. They might be like that. Really good. And if it doesn't feel right, you can always give me a wave. We can adjust. Sending the breath all through that right hip area, giving it a little time to relax. You have 1 more minute there. Body is still, breath is settling. Maybe to really maintain that inward gaze, that inward focus, you could concentrate on breathing really slowly in for 6. And then slowly out for 6. Now, to come out, you might want to use the hands just to help lift the leg off the floor, release the foot down to the mat, and just gently rock the knees side to side with screen wipers pose. And we'll come into the other side. So we'll bring left ankle onto the right thigh, maybe staying there, flex the feet, maybe lifting the legs, even reaching through, holding on behind the leg. Breathe deeply into that left hip. So each side can be quite different. You know, maybe you needed a prop on the other side and you weren't this side, or vice versa. So taking that leg across the body, the legs across the body, sole of the left foot comes onto the floor. Maybe you let the knee come in towards you. That will make it less intense. Maybe you're pushing the knee away from you to point up, and that's going to make it more intense. This is the target area. Maybe you take your cactus arms position. Just see how it feels in your body. Create the shape to suit your body, the shape of your body. And so we have 2 minutes here, so it's plenty of time for the body to let go. So there's no rush. There's no rush of these poses. It's yin yoga. It's more of a being yoga than a doing yoga. Time to be still and observe. Same slow, relaxed breath. We've got just under a minute to go. And just as you did on the other side, maybe using the hands, your core, bringing the legs back up, release the arms, release the leg, maybe just straightening the legs out, circling the feet around one way, circling the feet around the other way. Just really taking a pause to let your hips settle. We've got one more laying on the back before we come up. So we're going to take handlebars. So with figure 4 stretch, we have a gap between the legs. With handlebars, we're crossing the leg all the way over. So you're taking that right leg, crossing it over, and then reaching forward for the feet. So it's quite strong. This would be less intense. And as you lift the legs out, like handlebars, and pull in, it's more intense. So cross the right leg over. Yes, really good. And then reach through the legs. And then if you want, you lift the legs apart a little bit and pull them in towards the body. So you're feeling really around the side of the hip joint. Doesn't feel good. It shouldn't feel any discomfort in your knee ever. I should say this every week, the lower back and the knees. Really no pain anywhere. Maybe slight discomfort in the muscles that we're stretching, but never pain. And so it might be getting rather intense all around the hips. You know, that's sort of like a triple glute sequence that we've done. Returning to the same areas, similar areas over and over, just to keep encouraging the body to let go. All those little cells, muscles, connective tissues to let go of the tight hold they might have on their neighbours. Then in your own time, you can release the legs. Just let the legs come down for a moment and let the hips settle before we come into the other side. So bending the knees, take the left knee over the right, reaching through, draw those legs in towards the body. And then seeing how it feels. Maybe you do the same as the other side. Maybe one side feels a whole lot more intense, and that's quite normal to have an imbalance. You do the best you can each side. And once you've set that pose, you found that just right position. We're only here for about a minute. You simply go back to that breath, the coherent breath, in for 6. And out for 6. Slowly, gently, you release those legs. Take a pause, straighten the legs, be still, or bend the knees, windscreen wiper the legs side to side, whatever feels best for you. And then rolling over to the side, and we're going to come up to standing. And we're going to come into dangling. So we're going to get into the whole of the back of the body. So you have your feet as wide as the mat. toes turned in, and you'll bend the knees, resting the elbows on the knees. So that would be the first option, or holding the arms, relaxing the head and dangling completely over the legs. You'll want a soft bend in the knees. Even if your hamstrings are really open, I would say have the soft bend in the knees to begin with, because we've got 3 minutes there and we really want to allow the lower back a chance to open up. So 3 minutes might feel like a bit too long. If you start to feel funny, you want to come out, then of course you can just come out. Because as we can release tension from the glutes, we can then also really get into the hamstrings a little bit more deeply. Slow, easy breaths. You've had a minute, so you've got 2 more minutes, and you might stay as you are. So I'm only ever going to give suggestions, options for different variations of these poses, and you're welcome to try all of them. You're welcome to try them and not do them again. So maybe as we hold this pose, the backs of the legs are opening. Maybe we can move the elbows from the knees and dangle. Maybe we can't. If the legs feel really open, then you could also interlace the hands behind the back and hang those arms over the head. So I would say, still bending the knee, but you could take the arms over, getting into the shoulders as well. But it will get more into the legs, so you want to make sure it's comfortable on the legs and the lower back. Really good. You've got 1 more minute there. Then when you're ready, just slowly coming back down to the mat. You can stand up, shake the legs out, you can sit down, release the legs, whatever feels good. Lovely. And then we'll come back down to the floor. So we're going to lie down on the belly. So we've done a lot on the back of the body. We're just going to balance it out with the back bend. So you may have the feet wide apart. Okay, you may have the feet hip width apart, and depending on your back, if the back is sensitive, just resting the head on the hands, maybe gently rocking the hips side to side. So option 1 would be to stay here for a little while. Again, it's a 3-minute pose. Option 2 is to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, Sphinx pose. You can squeeze the glutes to protect the lower back as well. So if you're hypermobile there in any way, or you just maybe suffer from quite a sensitive lower back, I would definitely squeeze the glutes throughout. And so settling in here, you can feel the hips on the floor. You can use the hands, pulling the hands on the floor, opening the chest, lifting the chest up. Maybe beginning to take it side to side, taking the shoulder across, looking back, coming to center, and then coming into the other side. And you know your back. If it starts feel like too much, you could also do it with the elbows further forwards just to make it less of a back bend. So that's completely up to you. So you're welcome to stay here just as you are. Or now you can think about bending the right knee, reaching back, maybe holding the right foot. So taking sort of a half bow pose, pushing the foot into the hand and really opening through the chest, through the front of the body. The hips still pushing down into the floor. And with this one, if you want to hold the foot, it can also be easier to lay the body all the way down and then hold the foot and pull the foot into the body. So this would be another way to modify it if the front of the leg is tight. And then when you're ready, you can release that foot. So we'll come into the other side, take the other leg. Maybe you're taking it from the back bend, maybe you're taking it face down towards the floor. So whichever one is most comfortable for you, where you feel the best front stretch, where you're not going to aggravate the back in any way. And then when you're ready, you can release that foot. Just pausing, lying flat on the floor. And then when you feel ready, using the hands, the core, moving yourself back. It's your choice. You could take child's pose, or if you prefer, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, downward facing dog. Whichever you like, they're both going to be a nice little counter pose for the spine, stretching it out. So everyone feels good for you. So we're going to come back into the glutes. And again, really important, and I say every time we do it, but somebody did ask me last week, what if I only feel it a little bit in my knee? If you feel it a little bit in the knee, that's a little bit too much. So pick another pose. There are so many different ones. I'm going to give you the easy ones, and I say the more challenging ones as well. The more challenging ones do not suit everyone's biomechanics, so it's important to keep that in mind. So you could take a pigeon pose. So bringing the right leg forwards, having the left leg behind, having about a 45-degree angle. And say not good if you have a sensitive knee. Or you could take deer pose. Deer pose where you sit down on that right hip, have a nice right angle with the leg, and then maybe the leg comes back, but you stay sitting on that hip, so it really takes the weight through the hip rather than the knee. Or you could take, similar to handlebars, shoelace pose, where you would take the right leg over the top and maybe the left leg back. So that's just like our handlebars pose, but we're sat down on the hips now. So it's quite intense as handlebars was. So wherever you like to be. Pigeon, deer, shoelace. And the target area is around that glute IT band area. Yeah, that looks good. You could bring that front foot forwards just a little bit more. Yeah, great. And then fold over that front thigh. So you can come down really as far as your hip will allow. Great. We're going to be here a little while. We're going to go for 4 minutes. Now, it's not the longest it could be. You can always play around with it. Try a 7-minute hold, 10-minute hold in these poses. Just not time in an hour's class to dedicate 20 minutes to one pose. Or maybe there is, maybe we should. No, yeah, no thanks. No, I'll leave it to you. It can be your yogi homework. Hello. So your body's really settling into the pose, and hopefully we can really allow the body to relax into the pose. Using the exhalations as a way to focus the mind and soothe the body. You've got a good assistant there. Looks like he's checking. Or about as helpful as my little assistant. So we're halfway through. You know, and maybe as you get used to the poses, you know, we'll often do similar poses. There's only so many in yin yoga. You know, there aren't half as many as when we do the more yang styles of yoga and we get all the standing and the balances. So you get to know the sensations, and hopefully you begin to get to know your body in these poses and how you can make these little micro adjustments of the position of the legs and the hips and the body to really get into your stuff, your stuck, sticky stuff in the hips. 1 more minute there. You can count those last 5 breaths there. And when you finish them, just really slowly, you can find your way out and maybe just lie down on your front or your back, taking a pause to notice right side and left side. And then when you feel that right side has settled, we'll come into the other leg. So the options are the same, and I would say do the same as you did on the other leg, unless it aggravates the knee, in which case change. And it maybe you need to lay on the back and do figure 4 stretch if deer pose still aggravates it. Really good. Lovely. So folding forwards over that leg, just as we did on the other side, knowing that you have 4 minutes, so there's no rush to get down to the floor. You know, there's never a rush in yoga. It's meant as a lifetime practice. It's not something we just do, fix an area of the body and then we're done with it. It's a practice that really moves with us through our life, maybe changing and adjusting depending on what stage we're in, how we're feeling that day. And just as we keep a consistent breath, keeping that consistent practice, it's really beneficial for the body and the mind, not just the body. It's much more than that. You have 3 more minutes there. You have 2 more minutes there. If the mind has wandered, that's okay. That's quite normal. You just simply encourage it back to the coherent breath that we started at the beginning. You're breathing in for 6. And then out for 6. Your final minute there. Really good. So slowly you come out. You're going to end up lying on your back. If you have a belt or a strap handy, then use it. If not, don't worry about it. Just lay down on the back, take a little pause. Let the blood flow back through the hips again. So just as we did before, we're going to now return to the hamstrings. So you can hug the right knee into the body. Maybe the left leg extends out. If the hamstring's quite tight, you're going to bend the left knee and then extend that right leg up. So you could hold behind the right thigh and pull it in. You could hold behind the calf muscle. Some of you might even hold the big toe. So really just holding wherever you need to. And breathing in, remembering that adjustment that we've been doing, just gently rolling that thigh out to the side. As you draw it in, so it's an external rotation of the thigh to pull that leg in towards the body. We've got 1 more minute there, really giving the back of the leg opportunity to relax more and more. Really good. So you can release the right leg down. Just taking a pause. Bending the left knee, hugging the left knee into the body. Maybe bending the other knee to support. And then straightening that leg and holding behind the thigh, calf, ankle, wherever you can hold. And keep the leg straight, that's important. This leg is straight, maybe you're rolling it out to the side, just finding that really good alignment in the body. And then breathing there, breathing into the back of the leg. I've done quite a lot on the hips today, so if you had like a different kind of an ache in the hips later or tomorrow, that's the yin ache, much more different to like DOMS or anything like that. It's sort of a more subtle ache in the joint. It's not a bad thing, it's good. It's a lot of focus into the hips. Really good. Just a few more breaths here. Then you can release the legs down. Taking a pause, our final pose is going to be a twist, which is either double leg twist or twisted roots. So double leg twist is slightly easier and more appropriate if you have any issues in the SI joint of the lower back. So double leg twist, we would simply shift the hips over to the left, bring the knees up, and then take them over to the right. So you might put cushions under here. Okay, your left shoulder may have lifted off the floor, that's fine. Twisted roots is similar. The hips have gone over to the left, and that left leg has crossed all the way over, and then you take the legs across the body. So it's really pulling that leg across, getting strongly into the glute area. And so for some people, the shoulder is going to be a fair distance from the floor if you have more tension here, or maybe you're just less, the back doesn't twist so well. But eventually both shoulders will go down to the floor. So as you hold here, we can think about the exhalations really releasing the shoulder blades down into the floor or towards the floor. And when they get there, we can take again that cactus arms position just to get more deeply through the front of the shoulder area. So as we come into the final posture, hopefully now it's easier to be with the breath. It's easier to be quiet and still in yourself. I'm not going to talk so much in this final pose, but I will always give you the time, and you can use that number or that moment I speak just as a little awareness bell. Where was your awareness in that moment? Were you there in the body? Were you caught up in thoughts within the mind? You've got 4 more minutes there. Three more minutes there. Is that okay on your back, Rushi? Yeah, if you feel it a lot there, then maybe bring the knees back up and put some cushions under your knees. Like maybe a couple of them. And maybe, yeah, and you might need more than that. Just to really lift them up, and then it'll be a lot less on the hips. Is that better on the back? Yeah, great. You've got 2 more minutes there. Final minute there. So take your time. You want to use the core, maybe even use a hand to push those legs up and come out just as slowly as we've been in there. Eventually uncrossing the legs and just lying in neutral for a moment. Pause and let all the joints settle. Then when you're ready, we'll come into the other side. So bending the knees, shift your hips over to the right. Maybe crossing right leg over, or maybe just taking two legs over together. So the target area all along that right side of the body, maybe all the way from the hand, the chest, down the side, the hip. Don't want any discomfort in the back, that's really important. Just as we did on the other side, we focus entirely on the breath. Breathing in for 6, breathing out for 6. I mean, there's many different ways to focus on the breath, many different breathing techniques. This is, it's a lovely simple technique, and they all are fairly simple. But it has a really great benefits for the mind, for your heart. You have 3 more minutes there. Let go of the shoulders. Let go of the whole body. Two more minutes there. Into your final minute. You've let go of the body, let go of each and every part of the body so you can truly relax, soften into the floor. And then when you're ready, slowly, gently, you can release the pose, coming into your final resting pose. Help the body out. Take your time. Let go of the body, let go of the breath. Be here, nothing to do. And enjoy the stillness, the quietness. In your own time, you're going to bring your awareness back into your body. Moving the fingers and the toes, just taking your time. Any movements that feel good for you, do those. Of course, if you have more time and you want to give yourself a longer relaxation, then just stay there, that's fine. Maybe eventually rolling over to one side. Eventually finding your way up to a seated position on the mat, sitting up tall, spine is long, eyes are closed. Taking a moment to notice your inner world just as we did at the beginning, how it all feels now. Taking a nice deep breath. And then you can open your eyes. And thank you all for joining me this morning. Please ask if you have questions, as always, and I might see you next week.